Welcome to Breaking Bread. It's a delicious weekly serving of conversation and cuisine. I'm your host, Tiffany Bacon, and every week we'll broadcast from a different restaurant, eatery, or chef's kitchen, where delicious delights and curious conversation is on the menu. We broadcast on Word Radio, 900 AM and 96.1 FM in Philadelphia, and worldwide online at wordradio.com and all Word social media.
And a very good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to a brand new year. It is 2025, and this is a new episode, new edition of Breaking Bread. I'm your host, Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for checking us out last year. We had some struggles a little bit with the show last year, but I think we have everything smoothed out, and we hope that you will join us each and every Sunday at 11 a.m. We would love to see you. This is a show where we talk about food, but we talk about life. And the fun thing about having conversations is when you have food involved, because I don't know what it is, but it's something a little extra special when you're talking and eating. So that is what this show is about. We are breaking bread with some fantastic people. And throughout the year, I hope to introduce you to people you may not know or reintroduce you to people you do know, but maybe not in this particular light. Or maybe you're just completely familiar with them and you're like, yay, my person is on the screen today. So whatever category that falls in, I want to welcome you to my first guest of 2025. She is a wine maker and the owner of Cyrenity Sips, Shakia Williams. Hello, Diva.
Hello. Nice to see you as always. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming us into your space.
Absolutely.
So let's just talk about the space, where you're located, where we're sitting today with these lovely lavender flowers in the background, giving us so much springtime in the middle of winter.
Absolutely. So we are at our winery tasting room location, located at 31 South York Road in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. So if you're not familiar with Hatboro, we are 5 minutes from Willow Grove Mall. So after you've done your shopping, come do some sipping.
There you go. I love it. And not just that, but you host events here too, because I know of a couple people that have had some events here. Talk about using this space for specialty events.
Absolutely. So the winery is open for private rental. We can accommodate up to 40 guests. With that private rent, depending on the type of entity you are, the private rental could either be nominal or it could come with a fee. And with that, you would receive a wine education and 2 of our bottles free of choice. So check out our website and at www.cyrenity, so that's CYRENITY sips.com, and check out our contact form and let us know how we can accommodate your private rental here at our physical location. And we also do some off-site events as well.
I love it. I remember when we first encountered each other and you said you're a winemaker, and immediately my eyes lit up. Now, I'm not typically a wine drinker. I'm not typically a drinker at all, but I love to see Black folks doing things that I don't always hear Black folks doing, especially in the area. So you to be a winemaker here in PA, talk about that journey. And while you're talking about it, she has a lovely charcuterie situation, not the board though, but listen, I don't need a board. She has this layout, which seems like to me, if you were to come here and do some wine tasting, you have all this fabulousness at your disposal, correct?
Sometimes. No, I'm kidding. We don't serve food. However, this is a special treat for Tiffany. But we are hosting, and we will be hosting throughout the year, charcuterie workshops. So definitely come through and just check out our charcuterie workshops. And we're working with some local vendors, such as Two Board Sisters, and come out and check out our events.
I'm loving that. So tell me, okay, we're going to get into more events a little later on, but I want to know how you even got into wine.
Absolutely. So I've been drinking wine probably before I should even say.
Don't say
wine was always a big thing in our family. Box wine. And jugs of wine. So we would always have it at like social gatherings. So, the kids were allowed to indulge, but in moderation.
Okay.
So with that being said, I just continued to drink wine throughout my adulthood. And when my husband and I started dating, there were 3 things that we needed in our travels: wine, spa, and coffee. And we didn't have those 3, we're not going.
Ooh.
We don't care what country it is. We need those 3 things. And as a result, we started, building up our palate and just, learning about the different wines and, how they're made. And that just piqued my interest. So initially I started making wine gummies because I was like, I don't want to own a winery. I just didn't want that at that time.
I'm sorry, I cannot let you progress without rewinding the tape. How does one make a wine gummy? Now, I heard about other type gummies, and then there's your regular old, you can give it to your kids gummies. How does one do a wine gummy?
Oh my gosh, so easy. 3 simple ingredients. I'm going to do a tutorial next month.
Really?
But 3 simple ingredients. I use beef gelatin because, just for reasons. Wine, sugar. Heat it up, put it in a mold, put it in the refrigerator. That's it. Easy. So easy.
You done learned me something. Okay, while I'm chewing on this grape. Wine in its infancy. This grape. Tell me more.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we traveled and I started making wine gummies. And then from there, I'm still working in corporate. At my full-time job, I was a compliance specialist for a Medicaid company.
Okay.
And then I decided to, have a part-time job to hone in on my social skills because I was losing it, when you work from, and at that time we were working from home in early as 2014. So, you lose that social engagement. And I was like, I don't know how to talk to people anymore. So I decided to work at a winery that was down the street from my house, Virginia Beach Winery. We were living in Virginia Beach. And then from there, the owners were just so phenomenal. And they taught me how to make wine and how to operationalize a winery. And then I was like, there's nothing, at that time, there wasn't anything similar to what they were doing here in Pennsylvania. I wanted to be in Philly. Okay. There wasn't anything like that here in Philly at that time.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to find out all the regulations so that I can bring this back to Philly because I think this is something that our people will enjoy. Second part to that was this was quite a little time after the situation with the women on the wine train, the Napa wine train, where they had the settlement. So
if you don't mind retelling that for those who may not remember that situation.
Absolutely. So there were African American women on the wine train, and they were a little boisterous and loud and animated as we like to be. We like to be ourselves, and this was a comfortable environment. And while they weren't the only ones, they were singled out. However, they were kicked off the train, and they had a $11 million settlement as a result.
$11 million.
$11 million, and I think it was.
See, I didn't remember the settlement amount.
I think it was about maybe 5 to 7 of them. And you guys can. It's an easy Google search. But yeah, and I wanted something that we can have without feeling like we're doing something wrong. Go out and you get that look like. Are you sure you belong here? And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So my goal was to take the pretension out of wine. And that's what I did. And I figured out what I needed to do. My saving grace was that the owner of Virginia Beach Winery, her cousin has a winery here in Pennsylvania. So she knew all the legalities as it related to Pennsylvania. So I had that in my back pocket and I was able to, use that as a resource and then, create my own winery. And that's how we ended up here.
I love that. I love that you had an experience and you said, I want to take that home. I want folks in this new place where I'm going to experience this thing. That is awesome. That is awesome. When we talk about brunch, because, this is AKA the brunch show. We go to brunchy places and we have brunchy conversations. Often wine is a part of the brunch experience. Talk about your favorite brunch experience and wine at that brunch experience. Like, what was the best that you can recall?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I should say this. All right, so I love Temecula. It's one of my favorite places, like it's either south or north of San Diego, an hour away from San Diego. And the day after New Year's Eve, my husband and my cousin and I, we were, happy. Okay. We were very happy the next day. Okay. And we drove to Temecula from San Diego, and we went to like several different wineries because like is equal as Napa as far as, you know, as many wineries there are. And we had some brunch out there that was just phenomenal. My favorite winery was Wilson Creek Winery. And they do like a light fare, but I don't know, it just felt so good to eat that food at that time and in that moment, and to have the wine and enjoy it, and just to be in that type of air and climate. It was amazing. It was really amazing.
So what would you say for folks who are listening who are like, yeah, I want to have these great experiences, but I'm not going to be able to fly all the way out to San Diego anytime soon. How can I create that here in Philly? What are some of the main things people need to do or have to have a similar fantastic experience?
I would say start with your nobles. Your noble grapes would be your Merlot, your Cab Sauv, Riesling, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and then do like a fun dessert wine so that you can have at least 6 wines to select from, and then pair your foods with those wines. Cab Sauv is always going to pair well with a nice burger, or you could do some nice sliders for breakfast, like a nice little sausage patty. You can go vegan, you can go turkey, however you like. And a dessert wine is always going to go well with like your bread, so your pancakes, your waffles, French toast, things of that nature. And then you could just create in between those noble wines as well.
You're giving me an education, and I love to be educated. So I'm a wine novice, okay? And you mentioned some things, and we have a couple things on the table. I'm going to take a couple of sips, and you're going to tell me what I'm drinking here. And I don't know if you can see this because it's etched in there so lightly, but the business is etched into the glasses. How fantastic is that? So this one, yes ma'am.
This is
what am I about to taste?
Absolutely. So this is our chocolate raspberry wine. All of our wines are named let me take a step back. All of our wines are named after friends, family members, or puns to give the wines personification. Okay. So this is a chocolate raspberry, and it's named after my 2 brothers, Maurice and Antonio. Aww. So this was an ode to them.
Ode to Maurice and Antonio. Now, okay, I've seen people do this whole sniff and I'm not spitting anything out
so you
at
got
all.
See.
Okay. See.
Swirl.
Oh, wait.
Sniff.
See.
You want to make sure, you want to check the color, the clarity, the appearance. You want to make sure it's not cloudy.
Now, how would I know if it's cloudy? It's dark.
Well, you can tell by, like, if you hold it up this way and hold it to the light, you can see if there's like any type of sediment or anything in there.
Okay.
So it's nice and clear, and it comes through the light. If you have something that's opaque, sometimes, you know, it may be, you know, a little sediment in there. And a little sediment never hurt anyone. You can still drink the wine. But you see it, you swirl it, you sniff it. Some people say swirl or sniff then swirl, but I say swirl then sniff, because once you swirl it, you open up those flavors. And then you can just do like a light sniff. And you get those chocolate raspberry notes.
I do smell the chocolate and the raspberry.
And then you take a swirl, you take a sip. And you just want it to sit on your tongue for a second and then drink it.
Oh, I have to do that again because it went right down. Okay, so I did a look. I'm looking up in the sky, looking in the light, looking for sediments. Swirl it
to check the legs. A lot of people like to check, I forgot that part. You check the legs on the wine. Like if the wine has legs, that means there's a high residual sugar content or high alcohol.
So when you say leg, what am I looking for to see legs?
How can I show this to you? So this one is a drier wine, so it doesn't have as many legs, and it's a lower alcohol content. So when it pours down, you'll see like some dripping.
On the glass.
On the glass.
For those who are listening to the radio and can't see us doing this, so we are tilting the glass side to side to swirl it, and then Shakia is saying, I look at how
the legs fall down. So you'll see
the wine sliding down the glass. Okay, and so that's legs, and then I sniff it.
Take it all in and get those chocolate notes. Get a little raspberry on the finish.
Yep, and then I take a sip.
Take a sip, swirl it around in your mouth just a little bit. Get those flavors.
That does make a difference when I swirl it around in my mouth. It is just, it's hitting the different parts of my tongue, and I feel like I'm tasting more of it versus sipping it and it going straight back, because that's what happened the first time. I took a sip and it went straight back, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, but I missed everything because it was like going straight back. Okay, so a sommelier, what is that?
So a sommelier is somebody who's educated in wine. So typically what they would do is they would use or apply their knowledge into either a restaurant setting or a winery setting. Okay. And typically they understand, they can typically do a blind tasting. So without any type of identification or without seeing it, they can tell you, what type of soil was used, where the location is, of this wine, the type of grape it is. They can tell you all that just by tasting that wine. I'm not at that level yet, but shout out to all the somms that are out there. Wow. I'm getting there. But yes, they can tell you all that, and they can even tell you the year.
By tasting it. How do you taste the soil and know what kind of soil was used?
There's different types of soil. So usually, I'd say... sometimes there's a lot of limestone, so you'll get some minerals in there and things of that nature. But then when you go higher up, so like on the flat surfaces, sometimes limestone. But then when you go to the higher elevations, it changes. So that's how you're able to taste the different notes in the wines as a somm.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm hoping if you're like me and you're a novice at wine and things like this, I'm hoping this is helping, because I knew none of this before. I saw a movie, with the young man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember watching that during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID.
Was it Uncorked or Unfiltered?
Yeah, something like, it's like Uncorked or something like that. And he was learning to be a sommelier. And that's when I first learned the word. And then what he was doing, but I was just like,
oh, it's so intense. And I have an appreciation for somms. I really do. As a winemaker, to be able to taste and identify the year, the soil, that's a whole different level, and that's a whole sensitivity to your palate.
Because if you can taste that, I wonder what the rest of your food tastes like. Like, you're training yourself to be very specific, and I know for myself, I have a sensitivity to chemicals in my food, and I can always taste when it's heavily chemicaled, always. And it's like, I can't, I had an experience recently where I had Twizzlers nibs for the first time in years. That used to be my thing, especially going to the movies. I would get the nibs and go to town. I had some nibs late last year, and all I could taste were chemicals.
Do you feel like that's recent in our food culture?
Yeah.
I can just taste it. Even in Pepsi, I can taste the Nutri-C. I'm like, do they still use Nutri-C? Is that something?
It's
heavily. That was supposed to be.
Well, but anyway, one of those companies. One of them companies. Yeah.
I can taste it, the plastic and everything, and I'm just like, this doesn't taste like it did when I was a kid. Is something going on?
Nothing tastes like it did when we were kids. There's very few things that still have the same flavor that it used to. But with this, if you're learning to be a sommelier and you're learning to taste the earth in the wine, imagine with the food. So I guess the pairing of the food becomes even more important. The flavors and that, it's seasoned well, instead of sometimes you can be heavy-handed and just dump a whole bunch of stuff on things, and it doesn't make the food taste good. It just tastes like you dumped all the seasonings on this. Yikes. So talk about, for you being a winemaker, the food component. If you don't serve food but you are doing wine tastings, how do you encourage people to say, yes, this wine works best with this type of food, even down to its seasoning?
Absolutely. So a lot of our customers tend to have a sweeter palate.
Okay.
And because people have a sweeter palate, we like to say our sweet wines are always going to pair well with spicier foods.
Ooh.
And I think that's a misnomer, because a lot of people of color, they tend to like sweeter wines. Why? Because it pairs well with spicier foods. So people look down at people who drink Moscato or sweet wines. I'm like, well, it pairs well with our food. So why wouldn't we enjoy it? You know, so don't feel bad about drinking Moscato. If you want to drink Moscato, drink it up. It pairs well with our food.
Okay.
And, you know, and then a lot of the drier wines are going to pair well with like more so the less spicier foods. So a Chardonnay is going to pair well with like a dish or like a buttered dish or something along those lines. Our Riesling is sweet, so it's going to pair well with a spicy dish, like a succulent Chinese meal.
Okay.
A Thai meal or Jamaican.
I was about to say a little oxtail.
Absolutely.
Little curry.
Absolutely.
So Riesling and some jerk chicken go together.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. And our chocolate raspberry that you just enjoyed,
which is very nice.
Thank you. That will pair well with like our heavier breaded desserts. So like your pound cake, your cheesecake, crumb cakes, those types of heavier breaded desserts will pair well with our chocolate raspberry.
Okay. Now, what if you had a breaded main dish? So, like if it was a pot pie or a beef Wellington or something.
So I would say
or a big dumpling.
Big dumpling. Depends on the spice level.
Yep. True.
I would stick to like a Sauvignon Blanc, just because that is going to pair well with like your creamier dishes.
So now you're talking about cream level. So does it matter if the cream is dairy or non-dairy? Like, does that change the wine pairing at all?
No, it's just creamy.
Just the texture.
Just the texture.
Not the source. It's the texture.
It's the texture.
I'm learning so much. If you're just tuning in, it is the new 2025 edition of Breaking Bread here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Tiffany Bacon. I am your host. We are enjoying this brunch time conversation with Shakia Williams. She is the owner and winemaker here at Cyrenity Sips in Hatboro, PA. She made a lovely charcuterie tray for me, which I am indulging in, and I love that. But we're also talking about wine, so we're getting a wine education today. If you're someone who knows well about wine, you can comment if you're watching on Facebook or on our website, wordradio.com. You can comment on what you do know. I'm a complete novice. Normally don't drink alcohol at all. Every now and again, I'll sip wine. And so today is one of those days. And Shakia is schooling me on how to do it. The look, the swirl, the sniff, and the taste. Never did that correctly before. I saw people did it, but I didn't know what I was doing. So she taught me today, and now I'm going to taste this other. So you have another glass of wine here. This was the chocolate raspberry. What is this one?
This is Althea's Alpine Glow. So this is named after my dear friend Christina, Dr. Althea.
Okay,
You know Dr. Althea?
Yes.
Who doesn't know her? She's phenomenal.
Awesome.
And what she does for Black business is just amazing. So I had to do something for her. Like, she is just so phenomenal. So last year she had her 40th birthday, 40 years of bloom, and we wanted to do something. Her friends got together and worked with all the restaurants that she sponsored and got together this phenomenal package together for her. And what we did was we named one of our wines after her. So Althea's Alpine Glow. We only made 40 bottles because she was turning 40. So this is a limited edition. I think we may have 30 left on the shelf. So get it while it's hot.
I know that's right.
And you can also order both online for in-store pickup.
Ooh, okay. So this was a what? Wait, the
chocolate raspberry, and that is a white wine sangria.
White wine that's a tongue twister. White wine sangria. Okay, I'm supposed to look, hold it up to the light, and then swirl it. Look for some legs.
Smell it.
Smell. Oh, it smells nice.
Thank you.
And then sip and let it sit in my mouth.
And I love that flavor for her because it goes with her theme of bloom. And I feel like when you have that, when you're drinking that, it feels like you're skiing down the slopes and you're blooming into the next phase.
It's very smooth, and it's like I'm trying to figure out it tastes kind of apricot or orange, tangerine.
Those types of citrus flavors. So you get a little bit of pear, you get a little apple in there, like a honeydew apple in there. So yeah.
Okay. See, I'm learning and I'm tasting some things here. So what is your when you're making the wine? What is your favorite type to make?
Whichever one goes fast. No.
Oh no,
I'm kidding. Whichever one ferments fast. No. My favorite to make, and I don't know why, and I don't know what for. There are actually two. It is the Pink John and
Pink John. That's what
the Pink John.
So Philly,
which is a Catawba grape. It's indigenous to Pennsylvania. It was one of the grapes that the founding fathers had brought over to the United States. And then the other one is our dragon fruit, which is named after my dear friend Tamara. So those two wines I like to make because they're nice and pungent. And once you smell them, it's like, okay, I did a good job. I see where this is going, and this is going to be phenomenal. So, yeah, those are my two favorite to make.
So, help me understand. You mentioned certain types of wine, a Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot. What designates each type of wine as one of those things? Like, what goes into something being a Merlot?
The grape. So wines are typically named after the grape that they're from, or the location. So as you know, with champagne can only be called champagne because of the Champagne region. But it's a few grapes that go into the champagne. It's usually Petit Noir, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. Mostly Chardonnay. So that's a regional wine. And then you have Bordeaux, which come from of course, the Bordeaux region of France. Merlot was named after the Merlot grape. Moscato was named after the Muscat grape. Riesling grape. Chardonnay grape. So most of the wines are typically named after the grapes that they derive from.
And these are international. For the domestic, then explain that for me.
Same concept. Same concept. So Californian Chardonnay grapes, Merlot, Cab Sauv, they're all named after the grapes that they're from.
Okay. I'm curious. When you think about hood wine, if it is wine, I don't know. Go back 40, 50 years. Ripple on Sanford Sunday. Talk about drinking Ripple. I grew up never seeing a bottle of this, only hearing people talk about it. Is that a wine?
I think it's a rye. I think it's
what is rye. That? So I'm thinking about things I've heard about. Because I don't drink, I've not tasted a lot of the stuff, but I'll see people reference it. So I just want to know, what are these things? And for anyone who've had these things, that they know what
I want to say is a rye or a rye whiskey, Ripple.
A whiskey.
Somebody let me know in the comments what this is, because it's like Champagne Ripple.
Exactly. So Champagne. So did half of that come from the Champagne region, and the other half they mixed with this
idea? Pink Champagne.
I don't remember that.
Now that's malt liquor.
That's
malt liquor.
My lord. So
I do know that.
This is not that.
No.
This is not that at all. But the novice that I am, I had to ask, because I'm like, I heard about this all the time. I don't know if that's a wine or not. When you go out, if you go to a fine dining experience, a fine restaurant, what do you normally look for in what they present?
I usually look at pricing and how much they're charging for the wines that you can typically get.
Now at the market in Pennsylvania.
Now at the market.
That's new. That's some new stuff for us.
So I look at their pricing and how much they're charging for those types of wines. If it's something that, falls in line with the type of wine it is. So like a Camus, of course, you're going to pay a little bit more for that. That's
what is that?
Camus is a brand. It's a higher end wine. But if they're charging like I don't know, $20 a glass for maybe something that's on the lower end. I'm just like, oh, well, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Depending on how I feel, I may not purchase. But, you know, I understand they have to make money as well. So, you know.
And are you able to tell that this $20 a glass wine I can get for $12 at the market?
Oh, I know. I typically know the names of who and what they are. So I'm like, oh, well, isn't this interesting? One time I went to Canada and they were charging like $12 a glass for a Colt 45.
Shut the front door. No, they were
Wait,
not.
and this was like in the early this was in the early 2000s, and I was like, well, this is a fine establishment.
$12 for Colt 45
a glass.
Billy D. Williams had better been sitting next to you for that $12 wine.
No, I'm going to send you this screenshot because I still have it on my face. Oh, me and my husband was like,
shut up.
Are you kidding me? Like, they're like, well, yeah, it's imported. I said, well, I guess Canada, you know.
But it's Colt 45.
I know.
Hilarious.
My thoughts exactly. So,
okay,
it's important.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess. Now I'm very curious because you have such a lovely space, and we can only see the lavender flowers in here, but the way you have things set up is really, really nice.
Thank you.
How do you set up your events? Like, how do you come up with the events that you want to do each year? And how do you feel your space is best used, whether it's by you or anyone who wants to rent?
I feel like our space is best used when people want to use it. And they're here consciously to actually enjoy our wines, and they don't want to bring anything outside. So we like to make sure that when the people are coming in, let them know, hey, no outside spirits. But what we found is that there are a lot of sororities who like to come into our winery. So when we have events or when we do private events, we find that the majority of the clients are sororities. So sororities, please feel free to continue to support us. And then another thing that we do events throughout the year is our wine cocktail event. So once a month we have a wine cocktail event where, you know, we determine the wine cocktail for that month, and then guests come in, they create their own wine cocktail, and we usually highlight Pennsylvania spirits and pair that with our wine. They create the cocktail, they bottle it, they label, they cork it, and then they add wine shrink to it. So it's something personal and engaging to our customers. And, you know, we appreciate them and we want to show them, like, hey, you know, while we can't offer a winemaking class right now, here's an alternative. So please take advantage.
I love that. And you say that happens how often?
Once a month.
Once a month. Since we're here, talk about the events that you have coming up. Like,
absolutely.
In a little bit of time.
So this afternoon, January 12th, we are hosting our charcuterie event with Two Board Sisters. So that will occur at 3:30, from 3:30 to 5 p.m. Tickets are $85. The information is available on the website. So feel free to stop by. Our next event that we are hosting is our February Valentine's cocktail event. So with that event, you will be able to create your own wine cocktail, bottle, label, cork it, take it home and enjoy. And then on February 15th, we are hosting, in conjunction with the Waxery, this is an off-site event. We will be having a wine tasting at the Waxery, and you will be able to make a candle and take it home, and it'll be an exciting event for both locations. So I'll be schlepping there excitedly, and you'll be able to make a candle as well. So do your wine tasting, make some candles, and it'll be such a fun event.
And where is the Waxery?
I believe their address is 33rd in Emerald or 33rd in Kensington Avenue.
Is that still here in Hatboro?
It's in Pennsylvania. It's in Philly.
Oh, it's in Philly.
It's in Philly.
Okay. Interesting. So I love the idea of having like a wine event mixed with some kind of craft.
I love crafts. I mean, they always come out looking like something from out of this world, but
it ain't about perfection.
It's not. It's about having fun. That's how this got started. I was just
amazing.
I was making wine in my garage. Can you believe that? Really?
Okay, so now I'm just curious about the process of making wine. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? If you can make it in your garage.
If I can make
like
it
in my
garage.
head, I'm thinking you have to have acres of land. And
No, absolutely not. So when I initially got started, I just bought a wine kit because I was like so intrigued. I'm like, if this person can make wine, I can make wine. Mm-hmm. So I bought a wine kit that I ordered from either Amazon or another place where you can order wine supplies. So I brought it home, bought all the equipment, and then I just started making wine. The first wine that I made was a blood orange Moscato, and I hated it. Oh, I hated it. But my brother-in-law, friends from California, they were like, "This is so good." I was like, "Really?" They were like, "Yeah, this is really good." So I was like, "Okay." Wow. And that's how I ended up with the name California Sunset, because I couldn't just put all three people on the bottle. But yeah, and then from there, I just started making more wine, perfecting. And then as I was working at the winery in Virginia Beach, because that's where I was living at the time, they were just like, all right, well, do this, add that, take this out. So for our Chardonnay, I wanted to make an oaky Chardonnay because this particular wine is named after my grandmother, Eleanor, and she enjoyed like oaky Chardonnays. So I wanted to make something like that for her, and what we use here are still that. So what was suggested to me from the owner of Virginia Beach Winery was, we'll add white oak to it, and that will butter up that flavor. And the first batch I made was a butter bomb. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so buttery.
Whoa.
So then I learned how to use less, but then use it in different fermentation patterns. So that's how.
And what is the fermentation process?
Absolutely. So so here we receive all of our juices from different vendors. So our vendors work with other vendors, and they get their juices from Italy, California, South Africa, and Chile. So they bring in the juices to us. This room here is filled with wine juices, like 6-gallon juices.
Oh my.
Yeah. And then we take it from the juice, because that's the state that it comes in, and then we do the full fermentation process. So we add yeast to it. We then rack it. We get it down to we take the original gravity so that we know where our alcohol content will be. We then rack it the second time, add potassium sorbate, metabisulfate, and then, rack it again, and then get on the clearing process. And there's some other steps in between. And then get on the clearing process so that way, we can then either filter it, add more, flavor into it, or whatever is needed at that time for the wine. And then we bottle, we bottle, cork, then label. And then we put it on our shelves. And that's the process.
Wow. I feel like I just saw a whole documentary in my head. And I love how your labels look, and I love that you name them after people that you love.
Thank you.
What is the most intriguing and difficult thing for you to do in this business?
Because our job is customer service first, then wine. The most intriguing thing is interacting with the customers, getting the engagement from them. So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that part, and letting them, and being vulnerable. That's the hardest part, because I made this. And as Erica I did say, keep in mind, I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about this
stuff.
Exactly. So when I get the feedback, sometimes they're like, I didn't particularly care. I'm like, well, what's the customer service good?
Yeah.
So that's the most intriguing part, because you get to hear people's feedback, and being the first Black woman-owned winery in Pennsylvania, at times, you're like, well, I hope I'm doing this right. It seems like it's going well, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the customer engagement and you're receiving the positive results that you want to receive, and that, you just stay engaged with the customer. So that's one of the intriguing parts, is just the customer interaction. Because you never know what people are going to say.
Yeah,
I had someone, I was like, oh, would you like to try our chocolate raspberry? Chocolate raspberry? That sounds disgusting. To my face.
Wow.
Someone said that to my face.
And scene. Okay. Sorry I asked.
But they tasted it and they liked it. And I was like, because they were expecting it to taste and look like a yoo-hoo.
I never would have thought yoo-hoo though. Like, that never would have popped into my head. Honestly, I was thinking like a cake with raspberries. So when you first said it to me, I've had a decadent chocolate cake with raspberries on top before. So I'm thinking, oh, it probably tastes like cake. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you didn't think it tastes like a yoo-hoo.
Never. I don't even know the last time I had one of those.
They still make those?
I was probably jumping double dutch in the street in North Philly the last time I had one of those. Wearing bell bottoms and all. Oh my gosh. So, okay, so I get that. You make it so you want everybody to love it. Everybody's not going to love it. So there's a little bit of that. But has there been a moment where it was so difficult, you were like, why am I doing this?
Yes.
And then what got you out of that?
The application process, you guys, this industry is not for the faint of heart. And dealing with certain bureaucratic entities, it's very discouraging, and the best way to overcome that is to just continue to be diligent in your correspondence with them and continue to communicate and be as transparent as possible. You know, the larger scheme is that I'm actually dealing with the ATF because this falls under the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. So a part of that is they are all up in your business. And they need to see every dollar. You can't have an Uncle Joey just give you $20,000. You have to account for that. So
put it in the book.
Exactly.
Wow.
So just the fact that you have to be transparent with all that information, it can be discouraging, and they will delay. Like, you'll have in your mind, like, oh, I'm going to open this day, and these people are going to come, and this, that, and the other, and then they're like, nope, we need more information. We need more information.
Yikes.
So yeah, that was the most discouraging part. It wasn't the people; it was more so the bureaucracy. And I'm in Montgomery County, so just imagine if I was in another county.
Right. Was it difficult enough for you to tell others, like what advice would you give someone else who may be listening or watching this? Say, I think I want to do that. I think I want to make a shift in my career. As she takes a long breath.
You're going to need a lot of support. Which one is my camera? Because I'm going to make sure. You are going to need a lot of support because this industry is difficult to get into. It's really difficult to get in. I don't want to say it's challenging to get into. Okay. And you're going to need a lot of support from your friends and family. And just be patient. Even with the wine. Making the wine is the, I don't want to say the hardest part. But being patient with your wine, because sometimes you get wines that just don't want to move out of the second fermentation, and you just have to be patient. So just have patience. If you're looking to make $1 million in your first year, unless you're doing something that is unique, or you're doing something that is so novice, and I don't want to discourage anybody, because it can happen. It can happen. But if that's your expectation, it may not happen. It could happen, but it may not happen. So just, take things as they come, have faith, focus, and follow up. Faith doesn't necessarily mean in a deity, but it means having faith within yourself and the people around you. And if there's some people that you just need to get rid of them as well, so that you can have a clear mind for your next steps and just continue to follow up in this process. That's the best thing you can do. And stay on top of your compliance. Because you got to pay taxes for everything in this industry.
So I don't want to get too technical. I feel like that's a whole separate show. But running a business like this, are you able to manage all of that tax and stuff on your own, or do you have to, you're like, I have to hire an accountant, because otherwise I'm going to lose my mind.
I think for now, because we're small batch, I'm able to, oversee the tax portion of it. And the reason why is because in Pennsylvania, you have to pay monthly taxes. So I'm able to see that and then calculate that for the federal taxes, and we know how much we pay. In addition to that, we pay other local taxes in Department of Ag as well. Okay. So everybody's in my pocket. But there are just certain things that in the future, I'm definitely delegating. There are just some things that I just do not want to do.
I can see that. I can see that, because I would be like, yeah, somebody come handle this. But then, you have your own concerns to make sure that the person you put in that position doesn't mess up.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Your accounting. Because then that's a whole different headache that you have to deal with.
My thing is, I don't want to fall into the category of, my accountant handles that, and then I know nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'm rabbit ears. Yep. I'm just like, what happened?
Fresh out, somebody knocking at the door. Like, what you talking about? What do you mean?
Exactly. Like, I'm homeless? What do you, what?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's interesting.
Talk about the future. You said in the future. What do you see in the future for you and this business?
There's some things I have to say that has to stay under wraps.
Okay. Long as we get exclusive.
I'm so excited. But there will be additional brands under the Cyrenity Sips LLC.
Yes, ma'am.
This year we're going to start with 2. I can't name them right now because they want to keep it. They want to be so secretive, and when it happens, the fact that they trust me enough to want to be a part of this business is amazing. So that's what's coming in the soon future, very soon.
Okay.
And we're going to continue to have more workshops here as far as the wine cocktail events. And then my goal is to, within 15 years, have 15 different wine brands under the Cyrenity Sips moniker. Like how EJ Gallo has several brands and Diageo has several brands. That's where we want to be in the next 15 years. So
amazing.
Thank you.
And you're still going to keep this space, or do you want to?
I think for now this will be the flagship.
Okay.
This will be the flagship space, just because it's a nice space and I like my landlord.
That is so important. That is so important. I have heard of so many businesses having to shut down because the relationship with the landlord has gone south.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He is wonderful. And I'm so, how I believe in where you're supposed to be at that time, things will happen for you. Yeah. And initially, I didn't think of Montgomery County. I wanted to be in Philly. And then when I saw the window, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Paris. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I have to be in this space. And we started off as a dirt basement. Like, our basement was completely dirt. What? So we had to do some renovation. And once it all came together, at first my husband was like, no, don't invest in that. I'm like, but it's going to look good. Yes. And now it looks like a completely different basement. And my landlord is like, you did a good job. I was like, so I just want you to stay forever. I said, I want to stay as long as I can.
I love that. I love that for y'all.
Thank you.
It's a lovely space. You're making lovely wine. We don't have that much time left in the show, believe it or not. Like, the conversation is going so great. But I want to know what some of your other big dreams are. Like, do you have things that are not necessarily wine related that you really want to achieve before a certain time in your life?
Absolutely. At some point, I would like to become a master sommelier where I'm doing the blind tasting. I just think that is so cool and so unique to be able to do that. And then another goal of mine is I want to have a champagne. When I say champagne, I mean champagne. I want to work with one of the houses in France and have my champagne imported. So it will be Cyrenity Sips champagne because it will come from the Champagne region of France. So
amazing. So do you see that, like, that's I want to, but do you have steps in place to get to that, or is it still very much on a I want to, and it's over there in my life, in my vision right now?
I do have a few steps in place. They're baby steps. Baby steps.
Or steps?
But yes, for that to come to fruition, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Maybe I'll name it after you.
I would be honored. That would be fantastic. But I'm just, so lately, I've just been so inspired by certain people in my life who have really gone for a thing and achieved it. I have a friend who is now on Broadway. And she's wanted to, like, performing has been her life. And she just booked a Broadway show.
Congratulations. Recently. That is awesome.
You know what I'm saying? I know someone else that I'm close with who's been an actor for a long time. She wrote a play and it's being nominated for a Pulitzer Prize.
That is phenomenal.
So I'm talking about folks who are just like, I'm just going to do it. Like, yeah. I could weigh the whole what happens if for years and years and years, and then God forbid you pass away and none of those dreams are realized.
Exactly.
Time is not our friend.
No.
So folks are like, I'm just gonna
do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
You did it and you created this space. So what advice would you give to someone who's still kind of stuck on the fence on whatever it is, whether it's being a winemaker, being an actor, whatever? What are your words of wisdom to these people?
Just do it. The money will come. Time you will never, ever get back. So just do it. But do it cautiously and do it in compliance. But just do it. And use us and people like us as resources. You know, if you have any questions, you know, I'm available. I answer questions. Just do it. Just do it. You know?
Now, one thing you said that I can hear other folks say, that have said to me when I've said similar things to them. They say money will come, but bills are due at the end of each month. So knowing that they have either mouths to feed or mouths to look after, and bills are bigger than their paycheck, what do you say to those folks that are kind of caught in that loop of not quite having enough of what they need, but their dream is dying silently in the background?
And that's why I say surround yourself with decent people. And I also said do it cautiously, so that, you know, you are getting the results that you want, but you're able to still maintain your household and have a good group of people around you that is going to support you. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be financially. Just your emotional, just your spirit, you know. So just do it. And like I said, there are, you know, you can use me or other people like me as a resource. Do it cautiously, but do it. Don't let your dreams die. Dreams can get deferred, but don't let them die.
Don't let them die. And you mentioned good people. We only have a few minutes left. I have met a few people in my life that seem not to have good people in their life consistently. How do those folks find the good people?
I believe in reflection. So if these people are continuing to attract, it's something in you that may be, you know, that you may be attracting. So if you're trying to remove yourself from those people, reflect what it is that you want. If you want to be a good friend, be a good friend. You know, so reflection is definitely key. So look in your mirror and say, is this the type of person that I would want to be friends with? And then furthermore, is this the type of person I would want my child to be friends with? Because when you say that strikes a chord in people. Yeah. Like, would you want your child to be friends with this person? Or any child in your life to be friends with that person. So
if they brought this person home, if your child brought this person home, would you be like, get them out, or would you welcome them?
Exactly. And that's the telltale sign right there. That's true. Flaws and all. Yeah. You know, would you want your child or a child in your life to be reflective of this person?
Ooh, you laid it on us today. Shakia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for the lovely charcuterie.
Absolutely.
The tasty wine.
Thank
And please remind folks how they can find out more about Cyrenity Sips.
Absolutely. So you can follow us on Instagram at The Real Cyrenity Sips. So that's CYRENITY Sips Winery. We're also on Facebook at Cyrenity Sips Winery. We're also on LinkedIn as Cyrenity Sips Winery. And we also have a website at www.cyrenitysipswinery.com. And we are here at 31 South York Road, Hatboro, Pennsylvania. And we're open to the public Friday through Sunday. So check us out.
Love it. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I really appreciate you coming out.
Awesome. Not a problem. And I appreciate you for listening and watching us on this fantastic day. Much love going out to my producer, Nicholas Steptoe. And of course, thank you for joining us. Have a peaceful, positive, and productive day. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.